All right, phenomenal morning, everybody. Welcome. You are now tuned into Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for leaders who want to develop themselves personally and professionally. We have an amazing show for you today with an amazing guest. Before I bring out Shaan, just put it quickly in the chat. Where are you listening in from? Where are you listening in from? And also put some flames in the chat. It is a flame culture. I see somebody already up to speed. So one person says, good morning to you. If I could put some flames, I'll put it up for you as well. So welcome. So also, as you come in, guys, please put it in the chat where you're listening in from. That is super important to us. The purpose of this podcast is to actually touch as many lives as possible in as many areas as possible around the world. This morning, I have with me the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Shaan Rais. Good morning to you, sir. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. I am absolutely phenomenal. No complaints whatsoever.
Yes,
super excited for this morning. Super excited.
Well.
We're bringing somebody back for the first time. We've actually got a second edition of the second Saturdays this morning. So I'm super excited to see how that turns out, guys. Welcome, and have a phenomenal experience. You're going to need your pen and copious notes.
That's right. I am super excited about this. I mean, guys, listen. If you were here on the last Breakfast with the Brand, put a number 1 in the chat. I want to say a quick good morning. I see we have Jasmine. Jasmine, good morning to you. Phenomenal morning. She's calling from Florida. Tasha, I already know. Bronx is in the building. Tasha, Powerhouse Johnson, shout out to you. I see we have some more people just coming in. Coach B. All right, guys, if you were here last weekend, put a 1 in the chat. Because what happened last weekend was, how would you call it, Shaan?
Transformational. And let me say something. Deuce, no excuse. Right? Deuce, no excuse. And the reason why I wanted to start the year off, kick the year off with someone who edifies and embodies the experience and embodies the example of absolutely no excuse is so that every listener, every watcher of this podcast after this call will have absolutely no excuse to be unsuccessful. Absolutely no excuse to sleep late. Absolutely no excuse to say, oh, well, this happened to me or that happened to me or my daddy wasn't there. No matter what the case is, after this podcast, you will have absolutely no excuse.
100%. Absolutely no excuse. So I see we have a lot of people who are actually here. A lot of return listeners. So we have Amal, we have Jasmine, we have Tasha.
Good morning.
We have LaShawn. LaShawn, phenomenal morning to you. All right. So, it's no secret. The guest that we have, the way that I would describe him is he's an absolute master at what he does, an absolute master. And the last episode was absolutely monumental. I want to send a quick shout out to Jackie. Jackie, good morning to you. Right?
Good morning.
So, very interesting. Jackie, should I ask the question? And she knows what I'm talking about. So for those of you who don't know, we had an amazing clubhouse experience last night. We had an amazing clubhouse experience last night. If you joined us for clubhouse last night, put a number 2 in the chat if you were there, and if you know what I'm about to ask Jackie.
Uh-oh.
Put a number 2 in the chat. Okay. Let's see, guys. Just put a number 2 if you were there. So, all right, Jackie. All right. So let's see who else. I know Amar was there. Tasha was there. So the question is, so Coach Shaan Rais.
Yes, sir.
As a coach, we hold people accountable, right? And
Of course.
it allows them to step up, and it allows them to take steps that they may not have necessarily done on their own. And last evening we had a very interesting meeting, and Jackie, she made a commitment to taking a step towards doing something that she always wanted to do for a very long time.
Okay. What step was that?
The step, well, I'm about to let you know, right?
Okay.
So Jackie always said that she wanted to swim, but she never took the steps to do it. And last night, we entered into, not just me and her, I mean everybody there. The whole room was super supportive, and everybody sort of entered into this little coaching alliance, and we decided to hold each other accountable. And Jackie said that by this morning she would have taken those steps, and she showed up this morning on the Breakfast with the Brand today. So Jackie, I'm about to ask the question: did you take those steps? Put a yes or no in the chat, and everybody that was on Clubhouse was there, right? So Jason, can you pull that up?
Good stuff. Let's go.
Look at that. So she says, I was able to schedule an aqua session this morning at 9 a.m. Guys, put some flames in the chat.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Let's go. Let's go.
Put some flames in the chat for Jackie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this is all about breakthroughs. It's all about holding people accountable. But it's 8:07. We're going to be back with Mr. Ed Hennings to begin. Jackie, phenomenal. Congratulations. You're going to love the water. But right now, we've got to pay some bills. So let's go, Mr. B. All right, guys. So listen, welcome back, and we are going to waste no further time. Last week we had a phenomenal guest, and we brought him back for the first time. The second edition of the second Saturdays. Listen, I'm just going to bring him out, Mr. B. How you say? Bring him out. It's hard to yell. What's good, Ed? Talk to us.
Hey. Man, good morning to you and everybody, man. It's a blessing to be back, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. It's a blessing to have you. So last week, just for a recap, guys, Ed, just say some numbers real quick, right? I'm going to ask you some questions, short answers. How much time did you do?
20 years.
When did you go in?
June 11th, 1996.
When did you come home?
October 18th, 2016.
2016, guys. Did I say deuce, no excuse? I think I said deuce, no excuse. How old were you when you went in?
24.
How old were you when you came out?
44.
How long have you been home now, sir?
I've been home 5 years, a little over 5 years, man.
5 years. Since then, how many businesses have you created?
Three businesses.
3 businesses.
Three.
Listen, guys, listen. Now, we went into one. What was the first one?
The first one was my barbershop and beauty salon.
Okay, phenomenal. And that's where we stopped, guys. So we did the backdrop. We brought you up to date. Ed walked us through the hair. He educated the ladies. He educated me. He educated you. Okay. How many human hair selections are there?
Their real hair is only like 4. It's 4 nationalities that have a hair trade. 4.
Listen, and we got so many emails on that. It was unbelievable because people were they didn't know that still. Right. So thank you for that. Thank you for educating our connoisseurs and our consumers and our females within the leverage and within the listening and watching public and audience. They were educated. They were enlightened. They were informed. They were empowered. And that's the most important thing. They were empowered. So this is where we're picking up from, right? This is where we're going to pick up from because I wanted to get into it, but there was no way to smash your story into one segment. So let's pick up from where we left off last week. You went from the hair care. You're in someone else's salon and you're cutting hair in the barbershop and you're selling hair out of the side and you're making more money in your own business than someone else's. And it was time for you to grow. It was time for you to grow and go.
Yes.
Right. So you got your own barbershop. Then what did you do?
Well, shortly after opening up that barbershop and beauty salon, I had a client come in maybe about 3 or 4 months after opening.
That's right.
And he had a truck. He had told me about a box truck. And he was like, man, I got a truck and I'm doing these deliveries. And he was telling me like, man, I'm making $400 or $500 a night. And I'm like, huh? Like, man, you sure about that? You're not just, telling me some stuff, are you? So once again, just like with the hair business, I got on Google and I started researching. I started doing my homework. And by the time he came back to get his hair cut, about 2 weeks later, I had my own truck and I parked it in front of the shop because I knew he was coming. And I said, hey, man, I got me a truck, man. I'm about to jump in. He was like, man, that's a great move. And definitely, man, it was one of the best business moves I made because the transportation industry, man, is awesome, man. It's one of the best business moves I've made.
Wow. So guys, pay attention. I hope you got your pen. Don't come here for entertainment. Come here for empowerment. Let me say that one more time. Do not come to the Breakfast with the Brand for entertainment. Come here for empowerment and enlightenment. Awesome. So what you just heard was swift application. For those who don't know how to make the transference or what you're actually listening to, what you're listening to is he heard something, clarified something, and then took action immediately, not after dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. It wasn't perfect, was it, Ed? Did you have the perfect scenario?
No, sir. Not at all, man. And that's one of the things about business, and this is perfection. You're going to be sitting there scribbling and sitting there and pondering and sitting there and researching and reading while somebody is taking action, man, and they're gonna go, and as they go, everything you trying to figure out is gonna all come to you as you go. So you definitely know this. So that's an important philosophy.
What you're saying is you learn through the process.
I definitely, and I'm still learning. I continue to learn.
So you're saying that no such thing as
4 years now.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Been in business 4 years now, and I'm still learning stuff.
So what you're saying is there's no such thing as perfect.
The absolute perfection is perfection, man. Look, you got to know that those people that you see that's uber successful, those high achievers, they were just the people that fought through all the mistakes. That's it. They wasn't perfect. They just kept pushing through the mistakes because it's impossible. It's not even. It's like perfection and failure. Either one don't even exist. There's no such thing, and there's no such thing as failure. If you put the work and the time in, it's impossible for you to fail. There's no failure if you put the work in and don't quit early. You're not going to fail.
No losses, only lessons.
Only lessons. Just as you go forward, you learn something to take with you as you move forward in this process. Because if you put the time and the work in, it's no failure. You might not get there as fast as Shaan did. You might not get there take you as long as Ed did. But you're gonna get there if you put the time and the work in. You can't. It won't happen.
Very good. Now let me say this too, guys. If you want to learn or try to do it as fast as Shaan did, get with Shaan and learn the lessons that Shaan learned. Like, that's why we have the coaching program, right? If you want to collapse time, if you want to shorten time, if you want to get there, if you want to learn from the lessons, if you don't want to go through the 20 years of hard loss and Scrabble and, you know, the learning piece, if you want to like shortcut that, get with Shaan directly. If you want to learn how to get into the trucking business, get with Ed directly. Stop trying to figure it out by yourself and knocking your head up against the brick wall, right? If you want to know how to do the barber salon, the barber salon and the beauty shop and the hair care business and the barber shop, stop trying to Google it and do it all on your own where Ed is sitting right there and he knows how to do it. Yeah. Please stop doing that.
For sure.
Please stop doing that. As a people, we need to stop trying to compete and we need to collaborate. I promise you.
No doubt.
I promise you, collaboration is the wave, not a wave, but it's the wave. And deuce, no excuse. Mm-hmm. This is why I made it a point to reach out and bring Ed on, because as Black men, you don't see us together.
No, sir.
You see us throwing bones and throwing snipes and slices and stabs and jabs at each other and saying, well, I got this, so this is what I got, and me, I. The power is not in I. The power is in coming together. The power is not in me. The power is in we, and the power is not in one man. It's in the brand. So think about the brand you have and whether you're spending extra money and you're taking extra time trying to figure stuff out on your own. And if that's you, stop it. Get out of your own stuff. Get out of your own psychology. Get out of a hood mentality and come together so that you can get things done faster. So Ed, you listened to somebody told you what they were doing and you took immediate action. You went and got the truck. What happened next?
I got the truck, and just to tell you about perfection, with my record, having a felony, being in prison, I tried to do the exact same things that the young man that was telling me about the business was doing, and it didn't work out. You know, I ran into a brick wall. You know, you got a F on the report card, man. We can't mess with you. So me knowing this,
on the report card. Who knows about that? Go ahead, brother.
Me knowing, you know, I know what's on my jacket, and I know what the cards that I've been dealt based upon the decisions and choices I make. So I know that I can't go the same traditional route as other people. So once I get in my mind that I want to do something, I know I have to go the long way. Even if it don't end up that way, I'm prepared to go the long way because that's my life. That's based upon the decisions and choices I made. So when I fill out something or I go for something, I'm prepared to hear 10 no's. But I don't give up at the first no.
Come on.
They told me no the first time. And I said, okay. I waited a week. And I said, hey, I'm going to come back. Came back. They told me no again. But by this time, I had filled out for a different lane in transportation, which is furniture delivery. The lane was open because a lot of people just want to drive trucks. They don't want to touch the freight. They just want to drop it off, pick up, drop off.
Hold on. I'm sorry, brother. Pin, guys. Pin. That's a pin moment. Strategy. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. So I end up getting a call back from a furniture company that said, hey, they would take me on delivering furniture. So I started delivering that furniture. Man, I've been doing it for 4 years. But needless to say, that company that I tried to get on with in the beginning, I went back to them 3 or 4 more times. And by that 5th time, they said, man, you stay on our email. You stay in our offices. And before long, they was like, man, we'd like to take you on.
Come on, man. This is what I'm saying. So I'm sorry, brother. I get excited, right? I get excited because I'm constantly hearing, me working with all of the entrepreneurs and working with all the people that I possibly can. I'm constantly faced with, Shaan, it's not working. When do I get the ROI? When do I get the return? Oh, I'm investing all of this stuff and I'm going live, like you said, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But you don't stop because you don't get a response. You learn through the process, you tweak, you pop, you adapt, and you adopt. Write that down. Write that down, please. You tweak, you pop, you adapt, and you adopt. Take notes of what your responses are. Learn from the process. So here is a man who just came home, got one shop, two shops, doesn't stop, knows it's going to be harder for him because, as he said, he has to do what? You said an F on the report card. Hold on, guys. He said an F on the report card. We're going to come back to that in a moment, guys. It's time to pay some bills. Go ahead, Mr. B. Thank you, sir. Unbelievable. F on the report card. Wow, guys. Ed, tell us about the F on the report card, brother. Just go into that for a minute, man. What does that mean for you, brother?
Man, that's that felony, man. That F. That's some bad decisions and bad choices, man. Taking your talents, your mindset, and your intelligence, and you applying it and taking it down the wrong path, man. And you end up in a dark place. And then that's when you really have to take a long, hard look at yourself, take some accountability, and try to make some change. I like to tell you that the same fire that burns some builds others.
Ooh.
So that F, man, was me going down a long road of making some bad decisions, bad choices, man. And it wasn't nothing nice, man. It was real ugly.
Let me ask you a question. In your modest opinion, in your humble perspective, what's the difference between someone who the fire burns and someone who the fire builds?
I think it's just all mindset. It's all about the perspective.
Yes.
About how you see it. You know, if you're looking at it a certain way, it's all conditioning. You know, habit forming. It's what you're being told, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading all your life. And this is what's been pumped into your brain constantly. It's an exercise that I did to help me when I was sitting in beside them bars and behind that barbed wire, was that even to this day, everything that's around me, from music to what I read to what I watch on TV, it's all motivating and inspiring me and letting me know that I can do that. That mountain that you see in front of you, yeah, I'm crazy. You know, I'm insane. All of these ideas that people say, man, that's crazy. 2 out of 100 don't come back. You can't buy a home. You got a felony. You can't. All these things that I was told you, you crazy if you think you're going to do that. Well, get my straitjacket ready, because everything that I read, everything that I watch, everything that I listen to, it says over and over and over again that I can do it. So why are you even listening to anything, anybody, any thoughts that's negative and say you can't do it, it's too hard, it's going to take too much time? So if you pumping that in your mind, that's how you're going to see things. Wow. So that's your perception of what you've been listening to, what you've been watching, and what you've been hearing for your whole entire life. That's how you see the rest of the world. So you have to change that. You have to change that.
So what I hear is choice. That's what I hear. I hear choice. I hear perspective, but then I also hear filter, like a filtering system. You have a filtration system where you don't allow certain people, places, or things inside of your operating system. Is that correct?
Yes, because that's going to dictate that. Okay, so if somebody tell you that fire is hot, that fire is hot, that fire is hot, then that fire is going to be hot. But if somebody tell you, man, that fire is going to fuel you, that fire is going to fuel you, that fire is going to fuel you, then you're going to use it as fuel, because that's all you know. You know, fire is fuel.
That's right.
And that's what you're going to use it as. So that's kind of what I had to do for myself. Beautiful. You know, people had told me that so many things was the way to go. And I had to, as a adult, as a mature adult, I had to start breaking down the things that were, you know, burning me and the things that were building me. And most of the time it was the same thing.
Wow. Come on. And all you did was shift the perspective.
That's all I did, was shift the perspective.
You know, there's something on a ship. I want to just give a lesson real quick, guys. Huge barges that carry freight, right? So trucks carry freight. Trucks go down to the depot, to the barge, to the wharf, right? And they pick up these freights, these huge metal containers. These huge metal containers are carried on a barge. There may be 140 of them, 100 and 200 of them in a wharf. There's a small thing like this. It's literally so small. It's called a trim tab. And the trim tab is what this small thing changes the direction of a huge barge that weighs kilos and tons, right? It takes an 18-wheeler to carry one container. The wharf and the barge may carry 140, 250 containers. The entire barge changing directions. We're talking about hundreds of tons changing directions on water. Only takes a small shift in what's called the trim tab. And that is correlational to what you're saying about perspective. A small shift in perspective can take a kid from doing life in prison to having multiple businesses. Now I want to jump back in before we, because we could do this for months. We could do this for the entirety of 2022. And guys, we do have plans, so stay tuned for that. But Ed, you got this one truck. What did that one truck turn into, brother? And how long did it take?
Okay, so man, I bought this truck, man. It wasn't the prettiest of trucks. Let me just be honest with you, man. That joker had one headlight. I had to take the other headlight, put some duct tape on it. I had the gas tank. It leaked a little gas out of it. And even when I was delivering some of that furniture, some of the customers I was delivering to their house, man, they was like, man, that truck ready to be put out the pasture. And I was like, man, I just bought this truck.
They don't understand. Go ahead.
But, it was just the start, man. And I drove that truck every day, 7 days a week for the first year and a half. I would drive from 6 in the morning until like 5, 6 in the evening. And then I would get out and go back into the barbershop and cut hair till about 6 to about 10, 11 at night. And this went on for like a year and a half every day, just grinding, man. And before I knew it, I looked up, I had 4 or 5 trucks, you know, and things was running pretty well. And I was like, man, it was well worth, you know, the sacrifice and the grind. You know, like I said, if you put the work and the time in, man, I'm telling you, you're gonna see some results. And that's
Good
live
stuff.
knowledge.
Good stuff. Live knowledge. Applied. It's, you know what we call it over here? We call it evidence-based.
Yes.
We call it evidence-based
Exactly.
because a lot of these people picking up a microphone, trying to talk and trying to preach and teach and coach and reach. A lot of these guys are reading stuff like they're reading case studies, right?
Yes.
If you come from school, you come from a case study background. So you're reading other people's perspectives, you're reading other people's work, but what you're reading is really like theory and not application. When you want to learn something, guys, go to the source.
Exactly.
Go to the evidence-based source. If you got a phone, then you can follow Ed. And I encourage all of our followers and listeners to do just that. If you've got a phone, follow Ed, because this is what I did. This is what I do when I vet people before I bring them in front of you. I watch them. I want to see if they're the real deal. And Jackie just called you the real deal, brother. So I must have made a good decision, right? They will. I will follow someone to see who they are and what they do, right? And I watched you month after month for years, grinding, building your grind, building your empire, building your business in and out of the trucks and the storms. I'm like, wow, this guy is doing it. I said, okay, let me just watch him for a little while and we're going to bring him up. I got to curate the platform. So now once I curate the platform, see, we all supposed to be working for each other. Let me just say that, right? We all supposed to be working for each other. What I do is not for me. What Ed does is not for him. And we're going to move into the next piece in a moment. Pay attention. What Ed does is not for him. What I do is not for me. What I do is to create the platform for other phenomenal Black entrepreneurs and leaders who want to have a platform to speak and teach and reach people through evidence-based practices, lived experience, like he said, right? Lived experience, not theory. You can go to school and find theory. You can spend $50,000 to find theory, or you can spend a fraction of that and learn the real deal and learn how to become a millionaire from lived experience and evidence-based application, as opposed to what they call education. It's a whole new system, guys.
It is.
It's a whole new system where you can cut out the middleman and go to the applier, go to the person who has the real results. And that's what you're listening to, and that's what you're looking at. Two people who have the results from applying the work. And I wanted to bring Ed out here because I know it's a short amount of time. And most of you are like, well, Shaan, I didn't grow up with this resource. And Shaan, I grew up on the wrong side of the tracks. And my mommy and my daddy didn't have this and they didn't have that. Listen, there is absolutely no excuse. We went from crickets to digits in the midst of the pandemic. Now, this brother been home for 5 years and has amassed a small empire. And what I'm going to say is not a small empire, but big business. From small tweaks in perspective. Please pay attention, because what you're writing very likely and very truthfully can and will save your life if you so choose. Mothers, if you have a son who's in the streets, give him this. Tag somebody while you're watching this. Tag some young brother who needs to see this. Tag some young sister who doesn't know. They might think, you know, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. I don't know how to make sense of it. Don't worry about it. We do. We've done it. You hear the story. I'm from Harlem. I'm just a kid from Harlem who God chose to show his favor and mercy through. This brother's just a kid from Milwaukee who God chose to show his favor and mercy through. And then choices were made. And then actions were taken. Choices were made. Action was taken. Make a choice, take an action. Make a choice, take an action. Stop accepting excuses. Stop accepting someone else's narrative on your future. Stop doing that, because if he would have paid attention to the narrative, brother, let me just ask you, because I already know. I already know, but I'm going to ask you, what is your perspective? What is your trajectory? What do people estimate someone who has lived your life, served your sentence, done your time, made those choices? What is expected of them?
I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, just to be frank with it, you know, and just tell the truth. Just let me just say this. Even when I was coming home, man, people were like, man, you know, McDonald's hiring, you know, Burger King's hiring, you know, and that's pretty much the perspective of, you know, you do 20 years in prison, you walking out of prison, people just hope you get a job. Like, can you just get a job? And that would be phenomenal, just to hold down a job, more or less, start a business, buy a home or 2 or 3, drive a nice car. Like, wow, like this is amazing. So even my own grandma, who loved me to death, she gave me a place to stay when I got out.
Yes, sir.
But when I opened my barbershop and I bought that truck, my grandma came outside, she looked at that truck and she said, boy, ain't that barbershop enough?
Wow.
So when Shaan says the narrative, it's not always malicious. The narrative is not always a knife in your back.
That's a pin moment, guys. I'm sorry, Ed. That's a pin moment. What did you just say? Isn't malicious? What did you just say? Say that again, please.
Sometimes the narrative is not malicious or a knife in your back. Sometimes the narrative is somebody loving you out of your dream. Somebody that just love you so much that they protect you from flying. Like, you can fly, but I love you so much. Don't you fly. You stay right here and just sit here where you're safe. And that's what some loved ones can do to us. They can love us out of our dreams because they never flew. They never flown before. So, you know, flying looks scary.
I'm sorry, Ed. You're dropping so much stuff. He just said they can love you out of your dreams.
It's not always malicious.
He just said they can love you out of your dreams. And I tell a story, Ed. You probably haven't heard this before. I told this story within the community. I said that when I came home, and at the point that I came home from the job with an offer, I came home, I got a letter in the mailbox, and it was for a job offer. This was years and years ago. It was $27.50. It was $50,000 a year. Mm-hmm. And my mother said, who's going to pay you that? Why would someone pay you $50,000 a year? And she literally said, because I looked at her like she was an alien with 3 heads. I said, what's wrong with you? What do you mean? Got a master's degree. I'm in for another one. What are you talking about? Why would somebody pay me this? And she said, I'm scared for you. Mm-hmm. That's what she said. Now, had I been scared, had I inherited that perspective, I would not have taken that opportunity, and I would have short-sighted myself, and I would have cut my limitations off, right? So I want you guys to really pay attention to what the brother is talking about, because it's real. He said that people can love you out of your dreams, out of your destiny. Now, we're going to talk about the 4th business that Ed is in when we get back. But if you're smart, you'll take this challenge. If you have the heart, you'll take this challenge. I challenge you through this break to use your pen and use your memory and write down every nugget that you have heard in the past 40 minutes. Write down every nugget, every lesson that you can apply to your life and your business, your relationships. You might be in a relationship and say, you might be ready to give up on a relationship. Ed is here to tell you that there's no excuse. Ed is here to tell you that you can revive it. Ed is here to tell you that you ain't faced life in prison, so it can't be that bad. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. You ain't served 20 years. Stop it. And tag that 16-year-old, 17-year-old that might be looking at. They might be engaging in activity. Tag that young father. Tag that young mother. Tag these people and let them know that there's something magical and truthful taking place this morning. Stop it. Stop the narrative. Stop the tape. Like, cut the tape. Cut the ribbon, man. Stop it. Deuce, no excuse. Whoever's telling you that story, turn off that recording. Like Ed said, have a filtration system. Put something on the faucet, because we know that there are certain entities that are going to continue to keep pumping junk into our neighborhoods and into our mindsets and into every medium that we possibly have. But you have an option, because of phenomenal individuals who have taken the choice. You have an option. You can actually flip the switch. You can turn on something that's going to destroy you, or something that's going to burn you, like Ed was saying, something that's going to burn you, or something that's going to build you. That's choice. That's perspective. Now we're gonna leave for 2 seconds, and we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about that phenomenal fourth business, and it's gonna tie into something that we're bringing to people very shortly. So just hold tight, take the challenge, write down every nugget if you possibly can, and we'll be right back. Thank you, Ed. Let's go. There are so many powerful intersections, and we're actually doing a training called Speaking Like a Leader. The training takes place, it begins March 7th, and we're going to help individuals become speakers, professional speakers, public speakers, and take your story on the road, right? Take your story on the road, take your narrative on the plane, and begin to get paid for telling your story and helping people through your education, your experience, and your expertise. We're going to show you how to monetize your story, how to monetize your perspective, and how to create impact and create change in this world. And this is one thing that I want to speak to Ed about, because Ed, you've done the barbershop, you've done the beauty salon, you've done the trucking business. Talk to me about the road. Talk to me about the road and how it is now. I hear and I've seen you in prisons now as a free man, going into prisons and cultivating change and speaking from stages in schools. And we're about to make it organizations, but that's the next piece, right? But you're speaking in schools, you're speaking in underserved disengaged populations, as well as people coming home from prison. You've created a speaking business, haven't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It was really once again going back to live knowledge, man. People hear your story, you know, it's organic. They like, man, this guy. And I'm gonna tell you this, even my first couple of weeks out of prison, I was working in the barbershop, and one of the owners, well, the owner of the barbershop was mentoring some young guys. And he just stepped to me and was like, hey, could you come talk to these mentees for me? He had like 20 young adults there, male and female. And I just went up there for like 10 minutes and just told them my story and what I was going through and where I just came from. And from that day on, I would get asked from time to time to come in and tell my story, just tell where I'm from. But as time went on and I began to see some success from where I come from, where I started, the demand began to come more and more, like asking me questions about how did you do it? How did you do that time and start these businesses? I ended up buying the childhood home. Well, I grew up in one home, so I ended up buying the home next door. So I bought the house next door to my grandmom's house. So my grandmom lived next door to a house that I own now. And come on, people were like, man, you bought the house right in the hood. I said, yeah, man, you know, you got to make your community better if you don't do nothing else. And so I wrote a book called The Answers. And it was just the answers to those questions about how did I do it? How did I come back from what I went through and stuff like that? So I titled the book The Answers. And it just all came back to the character of the individual that my granddad tried to instill in me at an early age that I didn't use and listen to until I started using those principles and becoming better as far as my character, becoming the best version of myself that I could be. And then that just parlayed into more and more speaking engagements. I spoke at the governor's mansion. I've spoken in prisons. I've spoken in colleges, all the way down to at-risk alternative schools. So just anywhere that your message has value, anywhere that your experience can have impact, there will be a demand for it. So you guys just know that I like to say that our stories are not even ours. They're for somebody else to use as inspiration, because I use you guys' story. I use so many people's stories to motivate and inspire. I got mentors that don't even know I exist.
That's a fact. That's a fact. They don't understand. Yes, sir. Before you can pay for it, you got to lay for it.
That's right.
Before you can pay for it, you got to lay for it, right? And make the world wait for it. Write that down, guys. Before you can pay for it, you got to lay for it and make the world wait for it. Your time is coming, and your story is your crown glory. You just don't know it yet. The world doesn't know it because you don't know it. You haven't caught on yet. But there is gasoline being poured on our neighborhoods right now. There is gasoline being poured on our brain sets and mindsets right now. I want you to understand that, right? There is something taking place that's called transformation. There's something spiritual taking place within our neighborhoods, within our dynamics, within our relationships, within our character, within our identification. There is something taking place. And I want you to tap into it, because if you don't think that there is such a thing as too late. There is such a thing as too late. You don't want to miss this boat. You don't want to miss this opportunity. People say, well, the COVID happened to me, and the pandemic happened to me, and job loss happened to me. Some things happen for us. Some things happen to us. And it's our choice and our perspective which dictates which way we interpret a thing. So the brother mentioned multiple times about the burning and the fueling, about the burning and the building, right? You have an opportunity right now while the world is afraid. while everybody's reeling, while everybody's suffering, and no one really knows what to do, you have a choice to stand up and take the helm. Take the reins of leadership in your own life and then in your own neighborhood, right? What did he say? He started his business from speaking in the barbershop. I know another brother, another phenomenal brother who did the same thing, speaking in the barbershop. Affect the people around you. Tell your story. Get out of your own head. It's not about you. He just said your stories are not your own. They're meant to be told. What you went through is not of your own making. There is a higher entity playing chess with people. You get to choose whether you become an integral piece or not. You get to choose what part you're going to play. You can play a pawn, right? You can play the king. You can play the knight, the bishop, or the queen, or the rook. It's up to you and the choices that you make, the education that you involve yourself in, and the surroundings and the circumstances that you invest in, the circles that you circumvent with your investments and your participation and your attention. Stop allowing negativity to enter your circumference. Find the right people. Find the right people. Ed just said that he's got mentors who don't even know that he exists. And this is how he was able to build the empire. So I want you to think about your circle. I want you to think about your circle of influence, the people that you're around. And I want you to think, are they building you or are they burning you? Are they burning your bridges? Are you wasting time around the wrong people? Are you being poured in? Are you having garbage poured in to your ears? I always said this. I said that the eyes and the ears are the mouths to the mind. The eyes and the ears are the mouths to the mind, and your brain digests what you allow to the intake systems to intake. There's some things that come on the TV screen that we need to close our eyes to. There's some things that happen in our neighborhoods that we need to close our eyes to. There's some things that somehow get into the radio system and get into the media that we need to close our ears to. There's some people that we have around us that have access to us because we allowed them access, that say things that we need to close our ears to. There are some people that we need to reject out of our circumference. Why? Because they served a 2021 perspective. There are some people that you allowed into your circle in 2021 and in 2020 that don't belong there in 2022. They don't belong there, and they can't be there, or you'll never make it into 2023 as the person that you're supposed to be. I get passionate. I get passionate. Bring Ed back up here. Bring Ed back up here. I get passionate. I hope you guys can tell. Brother, let me tell you something, man. As one brother to another, I love you. I love your story. I love what you've been able to do, brother. And it's so hard for us to say that to one another.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard for us to say that. But I want to say that to you, and I want the world to hear it. Like, I love my brother, and I want for my brother what I want for myself.
That's right.
So when I see somebody that's ready to shatter narratives, ready to take on the world, and they're able to do it and come back and tell others and give back and be the example of possibility for our people, brother. You don't know. It does something for me. It does something for me. And I thank you. I thank you, brother. You know, and listen, guys, we're going to bring Ed into what we're doing, right? Let me ask you this. Put a flame in the chat if you want to see more of Ed Hennings. Do that. Let me see what you want. Vote right now. Vote with your flames. Do you want to see more of this, brother? Do you feel like the impact that he's had this morning is powerful? Do you feel like his narrative needs to be expressed? You need to hear more of it? Do you think that he would have a positive influence on the people? Do you think that the platform needs to be expanded so more stories like this can be shown and told? Let me know. Because we have a platform, and we have a platform for a reason. Google him, follow him, buy the book. You said the name of the book is The Answers, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Answers. The first book is The Answers.
The first book is The Answers. What's the second book?
The second book is The Comeback.
Come on. The second book is The Comeback. Let's go. So, guys, listen, you heard me talk about the Speaking Like a Leader piece. Ed is going to be a part of that. We spoke while we was going through the commercials, right? We're going to bring him into that. We're going to bring him into the speaking piece. You know, we also have the coaching business, and, you know, I know what you're doing for the people on the other side of the decisions, right? I know what you're doing on the inside of the walls and speaking with people who have made the wrong decisions. But I think that your narrative and your experience has expansion written all over it. Your experience has expansion written all over it. So a lot of times we see through the lens of where we've been. And it takes someone else to show us a perspective of somewhere where we're going, right? This is what I've experienced in my own time. I've been around people who, when I was beholden to what I had been through, they told me about things I had to yet see, right? So what I want to offer to you is that your story does not only pertain to people who have made the wrong decisions, but your story is also beholden and golden to the people who are trying to make the right decisions, right? So there's a lot of people who are trying to start their businesses who don't know how. There's a lot of people who are trying to build their little empires, right? Whatever it looks like, because for some people, 50K is enough. For some people, 500K is enough. And for some people, $5 million is enough. Whatever the number is. If I can help you make $50, which I can help you make 500, which I can help you make 5,000, which I can, 50,000 or even more. We're talking about adding zeros behind numbers, and we're talking about educational experience and entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. Entrepreneurship. Which realistically is freedom and legacy building. That's what it's about.
Yes.
We're taking it past the PhD. We're taking it past the master's degree. We're taking it past a good job and employment. And we're talking about freedom and legacy building. And that's what I hear. And that's what we do. And I think that there's an intersection, to say it humbly. I think there's the friendly intersection where what you're doing can complement what we're doing, and we can collaborate and show an expanded perspective to our listeners, our followers, and at the same time, give an example of collaboration and what it looks like when brothers work together. Mm-hmm. That's just my thoughts on it, my feelings on it. I'm super authentic. I say what's on my mind, and I mind what I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know what your thoughts are on that. What do you think?
Just you asking me what are my thoughts on us collaborating or on collaboration, period?
Yes, sir. What do you think? We're unscripted. We're super authentic, right? So I know you weren't ready for the question. I'm just wondering, like, what are your ideas on that? With the freedom and legacy building piece, how would you like to work with some entrepreneurs? How would you like to expand that whole piece into something bigger when it comes to the executive coaching?
Yes, most definitely. That is, I mean, it's once again, the burning and the building. When I look at the things and the character that I had to build to get through 20 years in prison, to walk out and see a little success in the business world, it definitely was, once again, one and the same. When I talk to my children about business, when I talk to people in the community about business, when I'm speaking at a business conference, at the end of the day, this journey, this entrepreneurship journey is going to be based upon, at the end of the day, the character of the individual. And there's going to be a lot of nuggets. There's going to be a lot of knowledge and information that you're going to collect. But you're going to have the character to move on it. You're going to have the character to have that persistence, because we know this thing right here, this immovable force, you're going to need to be persistent, because we know the more persistent, you're going to break it down. And that's going to be so many, like right now during the pandemic, we got individuals that saying, man, it's a work shortage. It's a problem. We don't know what to do. And I just told some guys last night, bruh, you know what you're going to have to do in this business game? You're going to have to go back to day one when you wore many hats. When you refused to take no for an answer, When you refuse to let your business fold, when you refuse to let somebody tell you that it couldn't happen, that's what you're going to have to go back to during this pandemic, this work shortage, this thing that's going on in entrepreneurship and in the business world. You're going to have to revert back to that what you, when you dug deep down in that gut and you made that happen in business.
That's right.
It's been a while since you did that. It's been a while since you had to tap back into that individual. But that's what we're going through right now. We got to go back to the roots and we got to dig deep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Back to the roots and we got to dig deep, guys. Listen, it has been an honor, a privilege, a duty, and an obligation to bring you before this crowd and give you the floor and let you speak and expose your story to the people, right? And I'm very dedicated, devoted, and disciplined when it comes to helping people. And your story is a narrative that needs more light on it. Mm. Yes, sir. There needs to be more light on it because that narrative is not told. That narrative is not shown. A lot of times people tell, but they don't show. They don't do the show and tell. They just do the telling part. They don't. It's not evidence-based, brother. It's not evidence-based. We are a rare breed.
Yeah.
We are a rare breed whose actions actually correlate with the words that come out of our mouths.
Yes.
Right. And you know, it needs to be seen so people can be empowered so that they can have the confidence, because when they see somebody like you, when they hear the story of where we come from and what we've been able to do, it's like, oh, another world opens up and the cap is removed. And it's like, okay, if they can do it, if he can do it, then if Ed can do it, if Ed can come back from 20 years, then, you know, my 5 is light, my 2 is light, right? Then maybe I can go back to college. If Ed can come back from 20 years, maybe I can go back to college. Well, if Ed came back from 20 years and built businesses, maybe I can look at my marriage again, right? Maybe it's not over for me. Maybe I can write the book. Maybe I can begin the speaking business. Maybe I can begin the coaching business. Maybe I can look at entrepreneurship again. Maybe I don't have to settle for this 25K a year or 30K a year or 50K a year or whatever it is, right? So guys, listen, I hope that you've learned a lot from this. I hope that we have helped you to overcome any shortage in confidence, any shortage in example, and truly walk into 2022 with a renewed you and a selective perspective. Be selective about your perspective. Be selective. Make choices. Make choices and take chances. And stand up. Stand up. Ed, thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. On the behalf of the community, on the behalf of the listeners and the watchers and the people that are going to see this later, if you want to connect with Ed, comment below. Right? If you want to connect with Ed, comment below. Please go buy the book. Please go buy the book. Please find out everything that you can about this phenomenal individual, because he is an opportunity and a chance and an example of redemption, an example of change, an example of powerful perspective, and an example of changing the narrative. Guys, this has been another phenomenal edition of Breakfast with the Brand. We will see you next week, same time, same place. Ed, thank you again, brother. Way to kick off 2022. I wish you much luck in everything. We're going to bring you into what we're doing, brother. We're going to see you during Speaking Like a Leader. Guys, let's grow.